They've played 3 Big Ten games so far, and they've scored 13, 6, and 13 points in those 3 Big Ten games, one of which they won. They beat Rutgers by a field goal. You don't want to put a whole lot of stock in common opponent kind of stuff, but Penn State beat Rutgers by a field goal. Ohio State beat Rutgers by 6 touchdowns. So, if you just looked at that game alone, that common opponent alone, you'd have to wonder about the Nittany Lions' chances this Saturday. So, last year the Buckeyes scored 63 points on Penn State in Columbus. I'm sure that still stings a little bit for them as they try to take the field this week on their home field. But I've heard some speculation or read some speculation that Christian Hackenberg, the quarterback who still has NFL scouts drooling, I think, because he's got the whole package in terms of physical skills and smarts and savvy, good-looking quarterback prospect. But a lot of people think that he has suffered under Franklin as opposed to how he did under Bill O'Brien, noted quarterback guru, when he was a freshman. I believe he still leads the Big Ten in passing, but he just has not had the kind of season this year that he did last year as a freshman. Franklin likes the dual-threat quarterback. Franklin will put in a wildcat package from time to time, which takes Hackenberg off the field. It just hasn't worked out as smoothly. He's been sacked a lot more. His offensive line is horrible, frankly, this year, and that has been a part of it. But the offense just has not clicked for him. They scored 48 points against UMass, and they haven't scored more than 26 points in any other game. And they've only scored more than 21 points twice. So the offense just hasn't been working. They have a decent running back, Bill Belton, who not one of the top 5 running backs in the Big Ten, but he's a decent running back. Big Ten is loaded with running backs this year, of course. But they're going to struggle. And even if Ohio State doesn't score 50 points for the 5th straight game, 30 or so should do the trick, in my opinion. I'm looking at a 31-17 kind of game this Saturday. I think the Buckeyes are going to win by 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, man, you bring up some of those numbers, 50 points, looking for 5 straight games. They're looking to do the same thing, 5 straight games with 500 yards or more of total offense. That would tie a record. I mean, we've talked about this offense really coming into its own since the loss to Virginia Tech. They're 4th in all of college football in scoring, 46.5 points a game, and really hammered that home the last 4 weeks, 224 to 69, the outscoring. And JT Barrett, you and I have talked about his growth. It's one thing we expected him to grow and improve as a young quarterback, but since that game, last 4 games, 17 touchdowns, only 1 pick, leads the Big Ten in total offense. He's 1st in pass efficiency, 3rd in the NCAA, and he has the longest active streak in the country. 4 touchdowns or more in the last 4 games. I mean, JT Barrett is really starting to make the quarterback position his own. And this is a discussion for later, but next season could get really interesting at the quarterback position for the Buckeyes.
Yeah, it could. And I think that, Meyer's on record as saying, no-brainer, Braxton's his quarterback next year if he comes back and he's healthy. And and that was in, week 3 or week 4. That was before JT Barrett had, let's look at it this way. Last year, Braxton Miller, Offensive Player of the Year in the Big Ten, he had 24 touchdown passes in 14 games. JT Barrett has 20 in 6 games. JT Barrett's likely going to blow away the all-time OSU record for touchdown passes in a season, which is 30, maybe before, they play Michigan. Or a Big Ten title game, or a bowl game. So anyway, the kid has been beyond expectations. No one, here he is, 3rd in the country in passing efficiency. It tops in the Big Ten, as you said. Absolutely nobody expected that, even though they had high hopes for J.T. Barrett as a player at Ohio State in the future. It was the present. It was 2014 that people were obviously sweating about when Braxton went down. And how would he do? And obviously showed some rookie mistakes and made some big mistakes in the Virginia Tech game, and they got beat. And but ever since then, the guy has just been brilliant, and including passing the ball with accuracy and touch and poise in the pocket and all the things that make you forget that he's a freshman and playing in his first season of college football. So it's a huge story. People are even starting to use the H word, in association with J.T. Barrett, the Heisman, and not without reason, because his numbers compare very favorably to the other candidates that have been talked about since the beginning, from Mariota to whomever, to Jameis Winston. So there's I don't think that's unless the Buckeyes go 12-1, there's no shot for that to happen. But stranger things have happened, and redshirt freshmen have won it the last 2 seasons, so it's not like it would be unprecedented.
No, and I mean, we've talked, you look at the numbers. When you put him and, Barrett and Hackenberg side by side, you're thinking, man, pretty identical season. They're both around 60, 65%. They both got 1,600 yards. And then where the separation comes in is the end zone. Hackenberg's got 5 touchdowns. Barrett's sitting at 20 and counting. As you said, we haven't even touched on the dual threat aspect of that, averaging 5 yards a carry on the ground as well. So I see Vishon in the chat room says Miller should just start to look for a place to transfer now for next season. But that's going to be an interesting conversation there for sure. But man, and really, who saw that? You saw the growth, like I said, but to see him explode like that. And looking at Penn State, I agree with you. Yeah, defensively, they're very well. I think they're 6th overall with only 15 points a game allowed. But let's look at the quality of competition as well there. And clearly, they have not faced an offense nearly as potent as what they're going to face this weekend. But even if they do hold the Buckeyes, like you said, down instead of 50, they hold them in 30. Or it doesn't matter, because they're 111th. Penn State is in the nation scoring, only averaging 21 points a game. But as you brought out, take away that UMass game where they put 48 on the board, and the Nittany Lions have put 26, 21, 13, 6, and 13 points on the board. So offensively challenged, to say the least. And at the end of the day, that's where the separation will come in, I believe, between the teams, unless for some reason that we're not expecting or seeing, the atmosphere, the bright lights, maybe Ohio State chokes and doesn't show up. I mean, other than that, though, I think Penn State just doesn't have the firepower to keep up with the Buckeyes.
Yeah, I think that's right. And in terms of those defensive numbers, they do have some impressive defensive numbers, especially against the run. All you really need to do is go look back at that schedule. Central Florida.
Yeah.
Akron.
Yep.
Rutgers. UMass. And then 2 of the weakest offensive teams in the Big Ten, Northwestern and Michigan. Not Murderers Row. And so they haven't faced anybody even close to the kind of offense, versatility and talent that they're going to see Saturday night. The only thing that could beat the Buckeyes is the Buckeyes beating themselves.
Yeah.
And that is an area where J.T. Barrett has just refused to cooperate with teams. For a freshman, last 4 games, 17 touchdowns, 1 interception.
Yep.
He does have, I think, 5 picks. He threw 3 of them in the Virginia Tech game. So, outside of that game, he's thrown, 18, 19 touchdowns and 1 interception. If you take out the Virginia Tech debacle that night. So, I just don't see the Buckeyes beating themselves. It could happen, but there's just not enough talent on the other side of the ball there, I don't think. Unless it would be a huge upset if Penn State can pull it off, and they'll have their 110,000 there to help it all happen. But I just think the Buckeyes will settle down and grind them and score at least 30 points, and certainly don't think they'll give up that many.
Yeah, it's going to be a great atmosphere, of course, live on ABC, 8 o'clock from Beaver Stadium. Penn State, 4-2, 1-2 in the Big Ten. Buckeyes, 5-1, 2-0 in the Big Ten. And as we said, I think it's going to be a good game. I mean, I think the atmosphere alone, that, to me, that crazy late night, whiteout, that definitely plays a part. I don't think it plays enough of a part with the differences between these two teams, but that'll level things a bit in the playing field. As you said, 108, 110,000 people, however many it's going to be, that levels things out a bit, but I don't think anywhere near is enough, and I think we're coming back next week looking at another one. Buckeyes average score the last 4, 56-17. I think the 17 holds up, but I'm with you. I could see this one being more along the 36-14, 17, somewhere in that area. What about you?
Yeah, that's my guess. I guess I'll stick with a 31-17 kind of thing, a 2-touchdown win. It could obviously be more than that if things start to snowball. And when you think about the Rutgers game, and the Buckeyes scored 56 points, and that's in 3 quarters. They did not even try to score in the fourth. That could have been as many as they wanted it to be. As I said Monday, and I was talking with a buddy of mine the other day, this is the Ohio State offense we've been dreaming about. I mean, it's if you ever thought that people in Columbus and coaching staffs underutilized the offensive talent that they had, and we all had those feelings, especially in the Tressel decade. This is your payoff. This is your payback. This is where every week is a treat to watch this team perform on offense. And the defense too is coming around. They've got some brilliant players on the defense. Bosa and Bennett on the line, and an emerging Raekwon McMillan, and a solid corner in Doran Grant. I mean, they've got big-time talent on the defense as well. They're very, very young. That's the thing that's even more exciting is how young this team is, and what high percentage of the starters are freshmen and sophomores. I think it's 13 starters that are underclassmen. Very promising as far as the future goes.
Got that right, man. Let's see what happens here this week. And don't forget, too, just throwing this in the equation, the bye week, Penn State with that extra time to get themselves ready. And as you said, thinking about that last time these two teams played and having to chew on that. Buckeyes in that last one, not only 63 on the board, 400 plus on the ground, nearly 700 yards overall. It was the third worst defensive performance in Penn State, or I believe it was, the worst maybe in Penn State
in their history.
Yeah, absolutely. So that says a lot. And so, always with the bye week, I always play that into a team being a bit more prepared when they've got the extra week. Doesn't always bear itself out, but that'll play into either way. I expect the Buckeyes to take care of business, as we just said. And Charles in the chat, man, you're simpatico, man. I was going to go there, too. Buckeyes have had a decent week on the recruiting trail this week, too.
Yeah, they have. And Meyer's been concentrating on the state of Ohio. He picked up a kid for next year's class out of Maple Heights, Kier Hawkins, who's a 6'4", 220-pound tight end prospect. I think they're looking at him as a tight end. He can play defense, too. And then just this morning announced Rashad Berry, the kid from Lorraine, who looks like a defensive end, or looks like a kid that could grow into a defensive end. I think he's very, very raw. He's for the 15 class. But more than likely that he will redshirt based on the talent in front of him, but I think he has a very high ceiling as a pass rusher, and a lot of speed and athletic ability coming off the edge, and redshirt him and put him in the weight room and put 15 pounds on him, and we'll see what he looks like in a couple of years. But they like the upside of Rashad Berry out of Lorraine. So I think the last 4 members of the recruiting class are all Ohio kids, and they still have, probably 3, maybe 4 spots left in this recruiting class, and I think all 4 of them are going to be filled with big-time national talents, an offensive lineman or 2, maybe Torrance Gibson, the quarterback, and a couple other kids that are top-end recruits that are going to be announcing probably around January at the All-Star games. But I don't expect a whole lot more to happen because Urban's running out of spots, and I think he's probably only got 19 now. I think maybe 3 or 4 more are going to be in this class, but not much more than that. And he's got some big name guys that are going to be signing with the Buckeyes in a couple of months.
Dan Wismar from the Cleveland Fan on top of it from all angles with the Buckeyes. I love it. We set the stage. Let's see what happens when the Buckeyes go under the lights. It's going to be I agree. We were just talking about that. It's definitely going to be a tough environment, and that's going to level the playing field a bit, but I still think, man, offensively, if Ohio State was too much for them last year offensively, they're even more offensively too much for them again this year. We'll see, though. It'll be a lot of fun. Dan, you and I will talk about that on Monday. Obviously, the Browns and the Raiders, you'll be in the house, so we'll talk about that as well, and we'll see where the World Series is. I mean, I don't think it can be over by Monday. Well, then again, maybe it could be, whether we're official or technical or whatever, but we'll talk about that as well, too. I'm looking forward to it. A lot going on this weekend.
Yeah, it should be fun. I'll catch up with you on Monday, Jerry. Thanks, as always.
You got it. My man, Dan Wismar from the Cleveland Fan. We'll catch up with him. He's with us every Monday, every Wednesday live right here on the Sports Fix. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to wrap things up. Cavaliers not only getting ready to end the preseason and get them